So I hope you're having fun with the training. You now have the introduction to elements 1, 2, and 3. And today in lesson 4, we're going to add elements 4 and 5. So this week, lesson 4 is going to be elements 4 and 5. And what are those? We're going to talk about targeting, and we're going to talk about the send. Now first, let me differentiate those two because people tend to get them confused. But in animal acting and trick training, it's very important that we know the differentiation between the two. Targeting means in trick training. It means take your X part and put it in X place. That could be nose to hand. Nose being your part, hand being the target. It could be your bum over there in the corner. Your bum being X part, the corner being the targeted area. I'm going to show you in today's lesson how we build value in the target so that we get the joy, and we also have them cue knowing what they need to do with what part to match up and get the behavior that we want. So then we have element 5, which is the send. Why do I have that as a separate element? Because particularly in animal acting, people often look at the targeted behavior as the whole piece. You need to have a lot of distance work, and so therefore one needs to consider, can I send my dog to X place? Can I work from a distance? Can they follow and see my cues from X distance? And have I communicated this in 2 pieces if I need to? I'm going to show you in a demonstration about how this is differentiated. For example, if I send a dog to a target and they turn to me and they wave, it might be hello. If I send them to another target far away, that same behavior turns into goodbye. And so we're going to talk about breaking down both of these so that you can build them into your trick tool bag that we're going to be using then in the second half of this course. What are you going to need? Well, you're going to need some supplies for this part. So we're going to start with targets. Now, targets can be any number of different things, but basically it needs to be a visible something that's safe. You're going to notice that I have just a dish here that is used to make pastries and custards. I use these a lot because they're heavy and because I can, if I need to, put a reinforcement underneath them, place them on top. They're not easy to pick up, and so I can get interest without there being a visible something here. So something to consider. I also use a lot of plastic lids. Plastic lids are easy to find everywhere, certainly very economical, and you'll also notice a piece of tape on the front. Now, you're going to see it later in the demo why this transfers into a smaller target as we learn to fade the target away. The other reason why I use tape is because on every commercial set, there is usually almost always masking tape on the set to show the places where I need to train. If that's already a trained and conditioned target, my work is already half done. Now, the other thing that you might want to have on hand is painter's tape. And this is the tape that you use to put along the edge of woodworking and protected items when you're painting a room. Why do you need this? Because when I start putting this target in different places, particularly up in a higher place, I want it to stick, and I want it to be stuck on with something that isn't going to create a film or damage the surface underneath. So if I use painter's tape, I can stick these almost any place that I want to without causing damage to the surface. And I'm going to demonstrate that later to you also in the lesson demonstration and instruction portion of this video. So, with that being said, let's move on to building value in the target, and then I'm going to take you through the progression of how I use targeting in trick training. We're going to then talk about the send separately and then combine the elements together. So we've got a week's worth to do. Let's get busy. So the first thing that we need to do is build value in a target. What I've got here is just a ramekin, plain ramekin. Notice the piece of tape on top. And what I'm going to go for today, for the sake of training tricks, is motion of front foot targeting. In other words, I want you to touch your front foot onto the target. So how do I create that? I just take the ramekin and I set it on the ground. I'm going to then take a high value piece of reward, doesn't have to be very big, and I'm going to place it underneath. Now what you're going to see then is the dog is typically going to sniff, push it, get kind of, interested in it. I'm going to click that and then reward that with a medium to low value reward. Once their paw touches this, whether they swipe it or touch the top, I'm going to then click and they get the bigger, more awesome reward. So I'm going to demonstrate with Danny here how we start that process. Hi, sweetie. Once again, rewarding on the ramekin. She gets the yummier reward. And I did 3 rewards. So now we have play. Now we have play. Now what's going to happen here, see if I can do this while we're tugging. What's going to happen here is if I do this session with this same identical piece 3-4 times, I'm going to create a lot of value in this target. Now I'm going to show you how I take this piece of tape and then move it to another location. Just a reminder to always be aware of what's going on in your environment when you start working on new behaviors. Before we start working on the targeting, I need to be aware that in my environment there's going to be a noise. So as you can see, I'm conditioning her to the noise first to make sure that before I start asking her to do a trick that she's going to be okay with it. And obviously it's time to move on. What I then do to create a little bit more advanced targeting exercise is I'll take the white piece of tape that was on the target or the ramekin and I'll start placing it on different items and different places where I want them to target whichever body part that I've used to condition. In this instance, it was front foot targeting. Well, so what I'm going to do is teach shut the door. I'm going to take that piece of tape that I've built a lot of value in and I'm going to place it on the door. When I start this exercise though, just as a warning, it does make a noise. So when I first teach a dog to do this, I make sure that I help them with a little bit so that if they slam it, it doesn't frighten them. So be very, very aware of that when teaching this. I also then move the tape to the refrigerator door. And we call this trick diet control dog. And I'm going to show this to you with a bigger novice dog and then also with little shiny, a tiny dog, so that you can see how they perform both of these tricks by simply moving a target piece to where I want their front feet to go. Right? So this is good job. Good job. Yeah, good job. Good job. So to teach the same behavior to a smaller dog, I just simply take the same piece of tape that I've built value in by placing it on top of the ramekin target piece and I move it down lower. I want it to be in the middle of the door. The one thing you have to be careful of in this trick, essentially, is to make sure that the target is placed in an area where if their paw goes there, you're not going to have any pinching of toes. That is the one thing you do have to be a little bit considerate of with this exercise. So I'm going to demonstrate this now with Shiny, both shutting the door and diet control dog. And watch where she just goes for the targeted piece. I'll then remove the target and you'll see her perform the behavior. Okay, come on, Shiny. Shut the door. Good girl. And shut your fridge. Good job. Excellent. Good job. Comfortable push for them. Now, once I have value built in the target, I'm going to test it and make it go away. love this tape because the wood is so smooth underneath this. This tape is absolutely awesome to use for this. Now, the same thing for shutting the refrigerator door, or what we call diet control dog. So let's just test this with Shiny and watch her do this same behavior with no target. Come on, Shiny, shut the door. Good job, excellent, good job. Shut the door. Good job. Shut the door. Good job. Shut the door. Oh, honey, good job. Good job. Couldn't even get it open, honey. Good job. High five. Good job. Excellent. So with the exact same idea that I just did with the ramekin, I can also create value in my hand. The beauty of having value in my hand is I always have it with me. Now, same thing. High value treat inside my palm. I'm going to close my palm and I'm going to just lay my hand on the floor. When Puppy comes to sniff or have any interest, lower value treat would be delivered. She knows this behavior, so she's probably not going to do a lot of that for you, but once again, so that you understand, if you do just get some interest in your hand, lower value reward in this hand, make sure to reward on the hand so there's interest. If she places her foot on my hand, I immediately open my palm. I'm getting to you. I'm getting to you. Hyper pants today. Lie down. No, you have to be over here. Lie down. Good. Lie down. I can then use it to cross paws. With value built in my hand, then I can create a simple shake. Sit. If I want to start to build a high five, I'll just hold the hand higher. Good girl. Good job. Good girl, honey. Good girl. Good. So you now understand how building value in a target takes you to learning, even within the element, some simple tricks like shake, cross your paws, and shut the door. So what I want you to do with this element now is start building value in that target and start to play with. Take X part of you, whether that be your paws or your nose or your bum or whatever that might be. You can even work on the back feet. That's a little more difficult. We'll be talking about that later, but certainly if you're in that place, go ahead and do that.